The information in this video is not legal advice and is for educational and entertainment purposes. If you wish to seek legal advice, consult with a lawful attorney.
Today we're going to be going over courtroom roles and A.B.A. perspective definition analysis. So this is going to be telling you who the key players are in the courtroom and what's the A.B.A.'s definitions on such people, so you know who to go talk to about what situation. So let's start by what you likely are before going into procedure and all that. We'll start with a litigant. Now, this is an individual bringing a lawsuit. Participants, plaintiffs, and defendants in lawsuits are called litigants. A plaintiff is a person who brings an action, the party who complains or sues in a personal action and is so named on the record, the person who files the complaint in a lawsuit or a civil lawsuit. But you can also consider a DA, in my opinion, a plaintiff. So then this action from the plaintiff is brought against a defendant. A defendant in a civil case. The defendant is a person against whom the lawsuit is brought. In a criminal case, the defendant is a person accused of committing a crime. So here, this is something you would likely be in an instance where you get a speeding ticket or something. You become a defendant in a criminal case. Now, we know who the judge is, and that's self-explanatory. So we're going to go into another circumstance when you have a magistrate judge. Judicial officers who assist U.S. district judges in getting cases ready for trial, who may decide some criminal and civil trials when both parties agree to have the case heard by a magistrate judge instead of a judge. Alright, so notice that there must be consent from both parties, so don't let them ever force a magistrate judge on you if you don't desire such. But anyway, for educational purposes, a district attorney is also referred to as a DA. A state government lawyer who prosecutes criminal cases, also referred to as a prosecutor. So again, that speeding ticket, this is the person who's going to be prosecuting you. And a prosecutor is a government lawyer who tries criminal cases. So, if you ever need to give notice to somebody, you would go to a district attorney if it's a criminal matter. Like if you need to provide notice of said information or whatever have you. Now, for other filings, things like that, you're going to go to the clerk of court. A court employee who is responsible for maintaining permanent records of all court proceedings and exhibits and administering the oath to jurors and witnesses. So if you have motions to file, things like that, or need to get some paperwork relevant to the case, you go to the clerk of court, who will usually be behind a computer. Then you're going to have someone mouthing off into this recorder, which is called the court reporter. A person who records, transcribes, or stenographically takes down testimony, motions, orders, and other proceedings during trials, hearings, and other court proceedings. Now, off to the side of the bench or somewhere else in the courtroom, if you're not able to afford a lawyer or an attorney, usually the judge would then appoint a public defender for you, which you can fire, by the way. A lawyer employed by the government to represent individuals accused of crimes who cannot afford to hire their own attorney privately. Now, usually people will hire an attorney at law, which is a lawyer licensed to provide legal advice and to prepare, manage, and try cases. So these are those people in the suits that will come in with all the paperwork and whatnot and help you by representing you in court with power of attorney. So here we need to then go into the security in the courtroom, which is the sheriff, who's an officer of the county or parish if you're in Louisiana, often chosen by popular election, whose principal duties are to aid the courts. The sheriff serves processes, summons juries, executes judgments, and holds judicial sales. So you're usually going to have a sheriff in the courtroom with you, sitting at his own desk or her own desk. And then you're going to have a place in the back of the courtroom for the witness, who would have to stand outside the courtroom until called, which is one who testifies under oath as to what she or he has seen, heard, or otherwise observed. Now, out of all these positions, a witness is addressed in the Fifth and Sixth Amendments of the Bill of Rights. In the Fifth, say no person, shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself. And your Sixth Amendment, the Bill of Rights, which is in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor. So also, you may have a bailiff here, which is a court attendant whose duties are to keep order in the courtroom and to have custody of the jury. Now the jury is a certain number of persons usually selected from the list of registered voters or licensed drivers and sworn to inquire of certain matters of fact and declare the truth upon evidence laid before them during a trial. Now, just like witnesses, juries are mentioned in the Fifth, Sixth, but also the Seventh Amendments of the Bill of Rights. So in the Fifth here, it says no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on the presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except ... and there's some exceptions after that. Now in the Sixth Amendment, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. And so it continues. And then the Seventh Amendment, which in suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury. Alright, so that's going to conclude most of the positions that you need to know, and we from here are going to be going into proceedings.